Hi guys, Matt Chapman here. I'm the creator of the trademark Trap Traders concept. Welcome to today's Trap Traders Trade of the Day analysis. Today's date is the 6th, Friday the 6th of the first month of January 2017. Non-farm payrolls today, so it's a little bit of a strange daily trade call because obviously you don't want to be taking any trades in the run-up to the news event, but if the data comes out really bad for the US, this might be a trade you might want to take a look at. This is the pound dollar, and what we've got off to the left here is we've got a level of historical support resistance off to the left there. Comes back into the level and then acts as support, bounces off, bounces off, bounces off, then breaches it, tests it again in here, but can't get above, then sells off. Comes back into the level, acts as resistance, sells off. And interestingly, when it comes back into the level, what we have here is the appearance that it was going to sell off at the hard right edge. So if you were looking at this as a trader who buys and sells off levels of support and resistance, maybe you specialize in doing that in retracements, in trends, then that would have looked very much like a very nice place to trade off because it's been historical support and resistance, and fundamentally buying dollars is a good play and selling pounds is also a good play. However, that doesn't mean that the price always moves in straight lines. It doesn't. You'll always get moments and days where the counter will be true for that session, for that day. Sometimes it lasts for several days. Sometimes it can last for weeks. But if you have what you had yesterday, where you had fairly soft data out of the US, and that data, that jobs number, is usually a precursor, or can act as a precursor for poor non-farm payrolls. So this is why I'm talking about this particular trade. That was poor, so the expectation is potentially that NFP will miss. It is actually supposed to just come in on expectation. Previously 178,000, forecast 175,000. This comes in something like 130,000 or worse. Then you'll see a pop up in this pair, and this trap that I'm going to describe in a moment would make sense for the short term. The other side of that was that the UK had some really good data relating to the services sector, and the service sector in the UK makes up the biggest part of our economy. So if that's booming, it's driven largely by consumer spending, and everyone's kind of chirpy and happy post-Brexit, or post the referendum anyway. It's defying the odds of the naysayers prior to the vote for the UK to leave the EU. So there's actually some fairly positive sentiment around the UK economy, and that was obviously translated in sterling yesterday. So what you need to always understand is, whenever I'm talking about traps and levels and things like that, news events can completely change that landscape. So you need to understand that. If, as an example, we're going to talk about this particular trap in here, and traders who are trapped, if you imagine you went short in here and now price is where it is, right? You're not having a very good day if you're still in that trade. You are offside. You are losing money. There's no other way. There's no other way to describe that. However, if today the news comes out positive dollar, then it's going to go down, and this trap is not going to mean anything, and especially because it's NFP, right? Being one of the biggest diarised news events that we deal with. So just always understand that whenever I give trade calls, temper them and be aware of the fact that some news that comes out that day might make a mess of that particular trade. So if I'm saying something that's positive or negative against a certain currency, but then the news comes out counter to that, then you might want to rethink that as a potential option. So just bear that in mind. Always bear that in mind. Bear that in mind going forward. And bear that in mind in this example as well. So if it's positive dollars, then this is going to go down fundamentally. This is to the downside. This trade, you have two central banks heading in opposite directions. You've got one central bank, i.e. the Fed, that are actively raising interest rates. They're on a interest rate hiking cycle to the upside. and then you've got the BOE, the Bank of England, that actively cutting interest rates, and what that does is that creates long-term trends. So while that doesn't mean that you won't get moments and days and sessions and even weeks where you will see weakness in the dollar and strength in the so-called weaker currency, in this case the sterling, that of course that must happen. Nothing in our industry moves in straight lines. It can't work like that, and you're always going to get days where sentiment's going to come out counter to that overall fundamental view. But just because there was a positive and negative news event against that fundamental backdrop doesn't change a damn thing, apart from in that session, that short-term reality. That situation can create a benefit for you if you've got that fundamental bias, because what's that going to do is it's going to bring the currency to you, so it becomes cheaper and you can buy and sell it at a better price, and that's ultimately how you make money. It's anything in life, including buying and selling paper clips or buying and selling currencies. So the cheaper the better, and sentiment counter to that major trend will create that, i.e. yesterday service sector makes up a big portion of the UK economy, came out positive. The ADP figure for the jobs came out negative for the US, so naturally it's going to pop up, but that doesn't mean necessarily you want to trade that at all. That's where people get drawn in wrongly to trade against the fundamentals. What that might mean today, though, is the potential to take a long in the pound dollar just for a very short term play for the session, for the day type thing. Usually you might want to stick with it longer. If the fundamentals, however, line up with today's, if the NFP result lines up with the fundamentals and it traps traders buying the pound dollar and then looks something like that, so this goes up and then collapses, then that is something you want to potentially look to sell, because that's the fundamentals and the sentiment, the NFP lining up together, and that's a thing of beauty, and you probably want to hold that a little longer than just the session of the day. But if this is terrible, as the ADP figure suggests, it might be a bad number. As I said, it's expected to come in on expectation. Previous 178,000, forecast 175,000. If it comes in like 130,000 or worse, then there might be the opportunity to buy the pound for a very short-term trade to the upside. The trap is already in play, and the trap is a trap break pullback, which occurred here. And as I said, this is just based off the level of resistance that traders have been trading off. This level pulls back, they sell it, pulls back, they start to sell it, believing that it's going to go down, and then boom, goes against them. And there was that news that really did that. So if this news is bad for the US, you might want to take that trade, because these people are already they're already stuck and trapped on the wrong side of this level. But don't be in it for very long. And if it continues higher between now and NFP, and then it surprises and it's a really good number, you could consider like 195,000 up to 200, 210, something like that. Then you want to potentially look to see if there's any traps that occur prior to the news. So then essentially the pound would spike that prior high and then collapse. That would be something, because that would trap people up here who took that move against the fundamentals. And then you've got the fundamentals and that sentiment of non-farm payroll, which is obviously strong, lining up together, and that's a good thing. So I hope you found that interesting, guys. If you'd like to learn more, join me in my inner circle. Click the link below. If you like this content, hit the like button. If you want to share it with your friends, share it, and I'll see you on the inside. Take care.